What's up, programmers? Welcome back. So today we are going to be starting a new series on our channel. Now this series will comprise of the advanced concept of the C. For this series we expect you to know the basics, really the basics. If you don't really know anything about C, you should check out our previous playlist which explains the basics. Now today we'll be starting with structures. Now before I tell you what are structures, I'm gonna demonstrate with example how this structure came into picture and how is it useful. So say suppose you have been given a project. Now you have to manage few students. Okay, now these students have three values, that is they have a name, they have roll number, and they have age. Okay, so now I tell you that you are given three students, and for three students you have to manage this. Okay, so the primitive approach that you might think of right now is using arrays. Okay, now so using arrays, how can you do it? Now we'll create three arrays. One will contain name, other will contain your roll number, and the last will contain your age. Okay, so you'll fill this with the details of the students. Say suppose Bob, Alice and Kevin are there, and their respective roll numbers and their respective age. Now if you see closely, you see that you are using three arrays over here, right? Now managing three arrays is very difficult to program. Okay, so now to avoid this difficulty and a problem, structure came into picture. Now let's look how the structure will provide us an advantage. Now this is a structure which is of student. Okay, so now it will contain your name, roll number and your age. Now if you see closely, the box of the student is larger, and inside them I have shown name, roll number and age. Now this is the basic concept behind structure. Like you have a structure is like you can consider it to be a container containing many different fields and grouping them together. Okay, so now using the structure we have name, roll number and age, and inside those we can insert the values. Okay, so this is what a structure is basically. Okay, so now I have shown you how the structure looks like. Now let take a look at what is structure in terms of some which will make you understand it more clearly. Now a structure is basically a custom data type. Now what do I mean by custom data type? In the past we have studied the basic data types like your int, float, double and char. Okay, so these are primitive data types. Now what a structure is, structure you can consider to be a basically a secondary data type or a custom data type. Now say suppose I want to create a structure for students. Now this is taken from the previous example where I have structure of students which contain the name, roll number and age. Okay, now say suppose if I want to go even further, let's take another example and look at it. Now if I want to create a book, okay, so structure, I'll create a structure of book. It will contain three things, that is title, author and subjects, and then you can fill them with the respective values. Okay, so now let's jump into the code and see how do we declare this structure and how does it make our life easier. So I've just written down few basic stuff over here. Now we'll look at declaration of a structure. Okay, so to declare a structure you need to use the keyword struct. Okay, this keyword struct will tell the compiler that you want to create a custom data type. Now after the keyword struct you need to give it a name. Now what do you want to call it? Okay, so we'll call it student, and then you have curly braces. Now inside this structure you'll put all those data types which are necessary to describe your structure. Now a student is described by three things, that is the name, roll number and his age. Okay, so I'll just put name which will be a character array, then we also need roll number and the age. Now if you see the dev C++ has already put the semicolon for us. Please do not forget to put this semicolon or else it will give you an error. Now this is how you define a structure. Now we have successfully created our first structure whose name is student and who can be described by three things, that is the name, roll number and age, and with their respective data types. Okay, so now I created a structure. Now how do I create a variable of this structure? Now to create a variable, the syntax for it looks something like this. Okay, so first we specified struct student. Okay, now this tells the compiler that we want to create a variable of data type struct student. Okay, and then we'll give it a name, say suppose s1. Okay, so now this is how we successfully create our struct variable. Now how do we populate it, that is how do we initialize it? Now to initialize it, what we can do, there is a simple method to initialize it, which I'll show right now. Inside the curly braces, we'll write down the values which we want to insert in the same order that we have declared, that's name, roll number and age. So, say suppose I want to put the name as Bob, so I'll enter a string saying Bob. I'll enter his roll number, which is 3, and his age, which is 15. Okay, so now I have successfully created a variable and initialized it to some values. Now how to access this variable? Say suppose I want to print the values that are contained in our student s1. So what for it, what I'll do, I'll create a printf statement. Okay, so I just created a printf statement. Now to print the name, what we need to do, we need to use the variable that is our s1. Okay, and in s1, what do we want to print? Do we want to print the name, roll number or age? We want to print the name, right? So I'll just put a dot name. Now this will print name on the screen. Okay, so for any variable that you want to access inside a structure, say roll number, we'll just put over here roll number, s1 dot roll number, age, then s1 dot age. Now this is how you do it for roll number and age. I've just written a printf statement and use s1 dot roll and s1 dot age. Now this is the way you can access the variables of the struct. Now let's compile and run this. So as you can see, it prints out name is Bob, roll number is 3 and the age is 15. Now this is how the structure works. Now let's take a look at how to dynamically initialize this structure, say from the user. So for it, I'll just, instead of initializing it directly over here, what I'll do is I'll just create a variable here using this syntax, and now what I'll do, I'll ask the user for input. Okay, so I just printed enter your name. Now I'll just scan the input from the user. Now name is in the format of a string, so we'll take the string from the user. So we want to put the name inside our s1 variable, right? So to do this, we'll write s1 dot name. Now this, whatever the user enters will be inserted inside the name. Now the same thing can be done for our roll number and age. Now for the roll number, we'll take the input in the same way, that is s1 dot roll. Now if you closely observe, for string I have not used your address operator, and for roll number I have used it. I hope this is clear. This comes from the basics of C. So if you don't remember, please go and look into the pointers lecture where it is explained. Now we'll do the same for our age, and we'll put the input into our s1 dot age. So in this way we have successfully initialized our struct element dynamically. Now let's compile and see if we have any errors. So no errors, and our program is running successfully. Now it's asking for a name, so let's enter Alice. Her roll number say 2 and her age is say 15. Okay, so as you can see, the input has successfully stored in our structure variable, and we have printed this. So that's it for this tutorial. It was basic introduction to structure. Now we'll get slightly more advanced in the next lecture. Now as this is a new series, we need your suggestions. Please do provide your suggestions in the comment box below, and please do like our video, subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on Facebook and look into our blog on the wethecomputerguys.com. Thank you.